What's up everybody, Newman back. Welcome to a brand new video, and seeing as though I've already broken down everything that we know about Mothra for the MonsterVerse, as well as Rodan for the MonsterVerse, it's about time I take a look at everything we know about the three-headed dragon himself, King Ghidorah. So this video will serve as a breakdown of what we know about from the Monarch Time Line, everything we know about from the pictures from Kong Skull Island, and any other outside information we have that relates to any of that. So kicking things right off with our first image of Ghidorah from the ending of Kong Skull Island, this was from the after credits scene, we get a sense of how massive in scale the painting of Ghidorah is, and it is fitting that the painting is that large because we know he is going to wind up being the largest kaiju of all. We see how big he is because we see a human being here who's probably around 5 feet in scale compared to this massive wall painting, which is at least 2 or 3 times as large as the man is. So that's just really awesome. I also love the way the art style is for this painting. It's not like any of the other art styles we saw. This one's very different, very stylized. You see that there's separation between the wings and the legs and the tail of Ghidorah. I think that's a really neat touch that Vogue Roberts added. So getting into what we can see from the actual picture itself, it looks like Ghidorah is going to have his fairly standard look for what he always says. It looks like he's going to be upright on 2 legs, which is a good thing in my opinion because I really don't want him crawling around on his wings, but you know, it might be too early to be able to judge that. I do want to point out though that in both pictures we see of Ghidorah in Kong Skull Island, one of his heads is missing. So this one just seems to be shrouded in shadow and cut off from the screen, which is alright, but then in the next picture of Godzilla fighting Ghidorah, we actually see that it is completely cut off. It looks like it's been decapitated. So this is a really interesting thing, because if we're going off the theory that this picture is something that happened in the past, that means that Godzilla blew off Ghidorah's head. So this could mean that there's multiple Ghidorahs, or this could mean that the Ghidorah we see in Godzilla King of the Monsters is going to have a really mangled, missing head, or maybe it's just going to be a really nasty looking beat up head. So we don't really get a sense of Ghidorah's body structure from this picture. It just looks like he's kind of standing upright again, but we can't really tell. There appears to be something sticking out here that we don't quite know what that is. But other than that, it looks like a fairly standard Ghidorah design, just a usual dragon design. So I don't really think we can take anything from that. If you do look closely, you can see Ghidorah is firing his lightning beams from both of the mouths that he has. Godzilla is firing off his atomic breath. Again, this is a very stylized painting. If you look, there's a lot of fire and death all around this picture. You see a lot of people flying through the air dead, so there's a high death toll, and then you also see lots of skulls all over the screen. Some people are pointing out that the skulls on screen might be representative of the alien origins of Ghidorah from the Showa era. Maybe the reason they look so odd and stylized is because they're like alien skulls. I don't really think that's the case. I think they're just skulls. But also, once again, you do see how massive this picture is in scale when you see a lot of scientists standing in front of it when they're taking pictures of it. Again, around 5 feet scientists. So this picture is about 4 times as large as them. So this is probably around a 20-foot painting, which is awesome. Now, another theory is that this picture was made by people who could somehow see the future, or they had some sort of prophecy that one day Godzilla and Ghidorah would fight. This could be foreshadowing a heavy death toll in Godzilla King of the Monsters when the two clash, and it could also be foreshadowing the fact that Godzilla blows off Ghidorah's head. It looks like if you take a close look that the missing head is in fact the middle head of Ghidorah, meaning that it could go down something similar to what happens in the Heisei era when Godzilla blasts off Ghidorah's head there. Now getting into the Monarch timeline, this is the most recent event on the timeline, and it reads 2016 Monster Zero, which is an amazing reference to Invasion of Astro Monsters' English title, aka Godzilla vs. Monster Zero. Sometimes it's just referred to as Monster Zero, and in the movie, Ghidorah has the codename Monster Zero given to him by the people of Planet X. Now, I believe Monster Zero is going to be the Monarch-designated nickname for Ghidorah up until he is named Ghidorah. Who knows who will name him? Maybe it'll be someone from Mothra's Island. I don't really know, but as much as we know now, this could just be Monarch's nickname for the monster. So The description reads, when Monarch discover an extraordinary superspecies sealed beneath the Antarctic ice sheet, Dr. Vivian Graham leads the effort to build a covert containment and research facility around the dormant creature. Her classified field notes contain a mysterious footnote. The devil has 3 heads. So there's actually a lot we gather from this one tiny passage of information. First off, we know that Monarch has discovered Ghidorah in the Antarctic. This means that Ghidorah is frozen in ice. This could be a reference to the original 2014 Godzilla idea, where Godzilla was going to be frozen in ice and they were going to find him there. Could be a reference to the Kong Skull Island original after-credit planned scene in which Godzilla swam out of frozen ice in the Antarctic. Or it could be some sort of entirely new storyline that we have yet to see. I do tend to lean towards the 2014 concept designs of Godzilla being frozen in ice with the Monarch organization trying to contain him there. I think that's going to be something similar to what we see with Ghidorah in this movie. So we know that Dr. Graham from Godzilla 2014, Serizawa's assistant, finds Ghidorah down in the Antarctic. So the question is, why is she there and where's Serizawa? We don't really know, but we do know that in Skull Island Birth of Kong, Aaron Brooks, Houston Brooks' kid from Kong Skull Island, does fake a mission to the Antarctic to go discover some sort of monster or muto that's in the ice. He doesn't actually wind up going on this mission. Instead, he sneaks off to Skull Island. But this could be Monarch trying to finally follow up on his original mission plan. So it is no mystery that the classified field notes reading "the devil has 3 heads" is an obvious reference to Ghidorah. This just shows how massive and scary he actually is in person, because if she's referring to him as the devil and she's already seen Godzilla and the Mutos in person, he must be one freaking crazy looking monster. So that will take us straight into Godzilla King of the Monsters, which is set to take place most likely in 2019. This is our most recent event on the Monarch timeline, which is alright. It's okay, Ghidorah can be frozen for a couple more years before something inevitably wakes him up and he goes and fights Godzilla. I do find the Monster Zero reference interesting. It might be a possible connection to the fact that Ghidorah could be a space monster in these new movies. We know that he is this ultimate threat that Godzilla, Mothra, Rodan are all going to have to team up against, as seen by the actual plot description that was officially released by Legendary. And it would be really cool if he was a space monster, and they don't even necessarily need to say it flat out in the movie. They could just allude to the fact that he's a space monster. It never has to be flat out said in the movie for it to be canon. It could just be Easter eggs and references in the background and other things like that that could actually give us the intel that he is a space monster. We also do have a slight Easter egg to it, or potentially an Easter egg to it, in Kong Skull Island, when Bill Randa mentions the fact that the people who believe in outer space, aliens, and everything like that are crazy. He says they're nuts when he's defending Monarch for being a legitimate organization, when he's accused of being nuts for believing in giant monsters. That could be a reference to the fact that everybody's right and that Ghidorah is a giant space monster.
You know, in terms of sheer waste, Monarch ranks right up there with the search for alien life.
Yeah, but those guys are nuts.
I don't know, that's just a theory, but it is cool to think about that he might be a space monster in this new movie. That does it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. See you guys next time. D-Man, out.